My name is Mike Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor with the IRS. As many of you know who follow my YouTube channel, as a former IRS agent, I like to pull back the curtain and kind of show you what IRS thinks about cases and some of the inside tips from IRS. Most people on YouTube kind of have worked cases against the IRS and tell you what worked. What kind of makes us different is we're telling you what works because we're former IRS agents. So Herb Canner and myself have worked there a long time. We worked at IRS together, and we welcome you to our YouTube channel. The YouTubes are short, they're sweet, and to the point. And today I want to talk to you about what happens if you're audited by Internal Revenue Service. So Herb is very valuable to me and you. Herb worked at IRS for 40 years, really, as an auditor. He's a CPA, worked there as a revenue agent, which means he audited the highest type level cases. He worked in a large dollar group. One of the last cases he worked had about a subsidiary, had about $20 billion in sales. But more importantly, he worked in the appellate division for 19 years, and he was also a tax court liaison. So today I want to talk to you about really how you win an IRS audit. Most people who get audited, some of you may want to hire a professional, some may not. I will tell you now, if you have a small case, you can probably go ahead and resolve that case you want if you don't have the money. If it's a sizable case, you have no business going in there because you have no idea whether Herb, if he was there, was telling you the truth or not. Most people have the fear of IRS. They say jump and you jump. So I want to talk to you today and give you 3 tips. Herb's going to give you 3 tips on how to win an IRS audit case. And if I were you, I'd pay really close attention. Herb has probably worked thousands of cases as an auditor. Thousands of people have brought their cases in front of him. So Herb, I'm sure you have seen it all at Internal Revenue Service. So, and talking to the people on my YouTube channel, what's the best way? I would imagine one of the first things is you have to have organized records. So what I wanted you to also address is give them the 3 tips, but how about if they don't have good records and they're reconstructing records? Tell us a little about all that, would you?
Yes, I handled probably thousands of cases over my 40-year career. I handled so many IRS audits as an IRS revenue agent and an appeals officer. And I could tell you stories of people representing themselves that didn't know what they were doing. They would give me records in a shoebox and they would ask me to put everything together, to which I would say, no, I don't do that. So you have to know when you're dealing with the IRS at the lowest levels and working your way through the system, what do you do? What do you say? What shouldn't you say? What should you not do? And you have to be very careful dealing with the IRS, or you could end up owing a lot more money than you're supposed to. And I've seen a lot of people representing themselves that should never have done that, and they ended up costing themselves a lot more money.
So,
And if they would have hired somebody, that person probably could have saved them a lot of money.
so what are the 3 tips that you would give somebody if they're going in for the IRS audit? What 3 tips would you give them about the records, the organizations, and what happens if they don't have the best records in the world?
Always organize your records when you give them to the IRS. If you just give them a shoebox, a big box, IRS probably is not going to go through those records and is not going to allow any of the expenses that you claimed on your tax return for your business or personally. That's one thing I would never ever do. You got to be careful what you say to the IRS.
So they don't have to go
Also,
through that shoebox, correct?
the
They can
IRS does
just say,
not, unless you're talking of just a couple of receipts for something that's different. But generally speaking, when you owe thousands of dollars, you're going to have a lot of records that you need to assemble correctly, properly, in the right format.
can you bring in a computer chip for people and say, here's my my QuickBooks file? Are you allowed to do that, or do you have to have all that printed and give to the agent?
I would probably start out first giving like a flash drive to the IRS that contains everything. If it doesn't contain everything, then I would let the IRS know if there are missing items. But yeah, you could give them a flash drive with no problem.
Okay, so when the person goes in and they're being audited for 6 things, they must have all that let's say they're missing receipts for 4 months for travel and entertainment or something. What do you do? How do you reconstruct those records to make that case become believable to the agent?
Well, every case is different. It depends what kind of expense are you not substantiating, where if you're just buying from one supplier, one vendor, you may be able to go back to that vendor and ask them for information. But a lot of companies also go out of business. So again, every case is different, and I always try to figure out how do I reconstruct if you're missing 6 months out of the year, what do we do? And I've come across that quite a few times, and we always come up with a solution.
And one of the things I think too people have to understand is the first thing IRS is going to do is pull up your bank statements. So if you said, "Hey, I made $200,000 in my business," but you have $300,000 in deposits, that's an immediate flag, correct? And IRS
Yes.
is going to ask for what's going on.
The IRS is going to ask you why is there $100,000 difference, and if you don't have a good reason, they're going to say that's additional income to you.
So I think it's important that you put the records together real well and you submit them correct, very from an organized standpoint. And then for missing records, if they're doing a reconstruction, Herb, for things like that, are the reconstructions kind of written out and you kind of say approximate? Let's say they traveled back and forth. The clients are missing 3 months. Should they put the list of clients that they went to, who they were, the addresses? How does that work if they're missing those type of records?
Yeah, absolutely, that helps. Every little bit helps. Like I said, every case is different, and I try to come up with a solution for each case based upon the facts and circumstances of each case.
So an agent can say, yeah, it kind of looks right, or if you don't have all the records, they can still kind of settle and say, well, it sounds good. And now let's say the person doesn't agree with your recommendation. What happens if they don't agree with your recommendation? What happens during the audit, and how do you take the case to appeals?
Well, if I think I can get a better, or at least a good settlement out of appeals, I will tell the revenue agent that to send the case to appeals, and that's where I used to work for 19 years. And I'll generally know what the case is worth, what to do, what to say, what not to say.
Is it easier to take the case to appeals? Are they a little more kinder or gentler there, or what's the story?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You don't know. Generally speaking, appeals officers are going to be better to deal with than the revenue agents, but you don't know. I've dealt with some appeals officers that didn't know what they were doing. So it makes it difficult for somebody, if they're representing themselves, what to do.
Anyway, if you have any questions, you can leave comments. If you want us to do a feature that you have a good idea and the public would like, we like to show you what really happens from the IRS out. So you can leave a comment. By the way, subscriptions are very big to us, and likes. If you subscribe to us, YouTube has a value. They place a value on that. So we really want to give you the information you need. If you leave me a comment, you can send me a text, an email. I'll probably make a YouTube. So once again, if you're going through an audit or you're going to appeals, if you want to do this yourself, you can. Just put organized records. If you have a lot of skeletons in your closet and you have unreported income, man, don't go in yourself, because they're going to get torn apart, correct? IRS ain't no fools, and these people are well-trained and real experienced. So to the degree you think you got a problem, you should get that type of representation. Thank you.